So a few years ago, we need to talk about Kevin, a film directed by Lynn Ramsey. We covered it previously on this show. A very disturbing film, a film that I don't really like to rewatch all that much.
No, but Lynn Ramsey, I like her film vocabulary, her film language.
Yeah. And so when a few years passed, she came out with You Were Never Really Here, a movie that I find almost equally disturbing, but I think is entirely more watchable because of its protagonist and because it does have a heroic stance in some way. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. For our loyal fans, sincerely, thank you for continuing to support the show. And of course, we do have a Patreon. Check it out for some great deals, great content, and opportunities to tell us what movies we can review for future episodes. And lastly, Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Yes, we really are film critics. So
yeah, check out that description down below. You can find more critics like us.
Yeah, so we're talking about a movie that kind of celebrates its 5th anniversary. And if you haven't missed an opportunity to see it, now is the time.
Yes. So Joe is a veteran who spends his time tracking down missing girls. But when the man who hires him is killed, Joe's world is upheaved as he protects his rescued child and tries to defend those he cares about most.
I really thoroughly enjoy Lynn Ramsey's presentation of what the film. I like her what we say, like film language. Mm-hmm. She frames it. There's not a lot of talking heads with any of her movies. It's visually explained to you.
That's true. Good point. Yeah.
And there's maybe her scripts have maybe 90 pages of dialogue. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she uses what we see is the presentation. Everything is shot and carefully crafted. I would imagine she'd storyboards and pre-production's heavy before she even gets started.
Yeah, because so much of her language is the visual. Yeah, I'm sure that there's way more storyboards than there ever is actual pieces of paper with writing on them. Yeah. The film feels at times, we've talked recently about things like Furiosa, where it's just like we just took away as many lines of dialogue as we could to just streamline the process.
Yeah.
And we can still get long movies like that, but this one is nice and short and sweet to the point. Very nice pacing on it. And you've got a lead actor in Joaquin Phoenix who's capable of performing without dialogue.
And yeah, he's not this superhero kind of a person. He's broken. He's not in shape. He's fragmented. And it gets all explained to you, not with exposition, but just by his mannerisms. He's vulnerable, but also he has an intense drive, this thing of he cannot live this normal life. Whatever he experienced, they don't really tell you, but obviously he's some kind of veteran that experienced war. And even have a casual conversation with his mom through the bathroom who was having problems, and it's frustrating him to ever confront this dilemma between him and his mom. He's dropping a knife on his foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just can't relax and just,
the whole problem that he's got basically is that internalized one of, we don't get all of the details of his past, but I find that we get literally just enough. Like, just at that precipice where it's enough, I can be comfortable moving on without having all of it, but still, not always seeing the full picture, because maybe even he doesn't really have the full picture put together in his head.
Yes.
Lynn Ramsey gave him a audio recording of what was playing inside Joe's head at any given moment, and it was fireworks and gunshots. Doesn't sound like a fun movie to make. But
no, and I understand that going with my own kind of thing of it's always in the back that you try to block it out, but eventually it just appears and it gets frustrating. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of him, that he's looking for some way to settle and he can't settle. And his whole point of recovering this girl that's trapped in this sex trafficking thing, her characters entangled in the dynamics of anybody. They're almost being played like little soldiers.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a war that he didn't start, that he's involved with, and so he suffers all the consequences of everybody else's dynamics. Same with the little girl that's involved. She's being moved around and everything, and she needs to be rescued. So they have this entanglement of people that are trapped on everybody else's motivations.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a movie where we're just we're stuck in it with the both of them.
Right.
And I love that, I think you said it really well when you said he's not a superhero. Because the original novella by Jonathan Ames has more like gadgets and more like, different tools that he's using. And Phoenix himself was one who suggested to Ramsey that they remove those elements from the film. And I think for what you have with this movie, that is a smart choice, because I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is a superhero. People were talking about him doing like Doctor Strange or like all these different superheroes back in the day. I was like, I don't think that's what he wants to do.
No.
You know,
and I think that's interesting. Like the best thing about Game of Thrones isn't this. They put the mysticism in the background.
Yeah.
It's not the forefront. And
Yeah.
I think the dynamics of going and rescue somebody, that's a massive task. But he understands. It's almost like, I don't know if it's a reference to Old Boy using a hammer.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like the film was so tied into like Taken, but seriously, that I couldn't
Yeah.
even think of any other comparisons in my head. I guess there's things like Taxi Driver and such as well, where you could see elements of him protecting a young child. But yeah, you're right. The Old Boy-ness too. I mean, there's a lot of vengeance homage to the film, and maybe that comes out of the novel as well.
Yeah, there's great. Actually, for how little stunts there are, they're fantastic stunts. I mean, with the camera, you just watch the security camera of him beating crap out of people.
Yeah, it's almost like an action film without really any action to it. I mean, it's there, but it's not really like, we're not here to watch the action.
It's almost like an anti-action movie.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it doesn't feel like that, right?
Yeah, all throughout the film, I was consistently taken with Joe, and I think part of it is because Joe's relationships with other people are so strained that we do want to know more, but we shouldn't.
And if they're not shot linear.
Yeah.
It's like if he has a conversation with his mom, he's up here, she's down here. Even with his therapist, it's like there's obstacles in the way of them just having a one-on-one, whether it's like the framing of it or stuff like that. So there's never somebody that's equaling to him, which I think would balance him out. But that's what I think is a projection of how he feels.
That's what he needs right now. That's what he feels he needs.
Yeah.
And I think his relationship with Judith Roberts, who plays his mother, and Judith Roberts has been working for decades, and I'm so happy to see her in this film. She was an Eraserhead. She worked with James Wan a couple years ago. Like, she's been doing some consistent work, but she plays his mother in the film, and I think they have a really interesting relationship, especially when you view it through the lens of comparing it to like his relationship with his mother in Joker. Is we have this guy that lives with his
you
mother,
have to almost do
and
that,
you see those two different facets of how the motherhood is for him and how that changes him as a damaged human being.
But of course, going back to the only person that meets him eye to eye is the girl.
Yeah.
And then she completely understands that people are just using me. Well, that's him too.
Yeah.
So it's almost like
Maybe all he has at this point.
I think that's the other thing is it's hard to invest in him. The title's very long.
It's not a very good. I mean, I don't think it's a very enticing title. We've talked a lot actually in the past couple of episodes about enticing titles or lack thereof.
But it's just, I think it's driving the point that both him and the little girl are just almost treated as vapors for anybody's appetite.
Yep.
Or motivations. They use them like, I need to use you. Yeah.
Yeah, they're performing services that are basically consuming them.
Yeah.
Or being asked to perform them. And Joe seems to do it willingly, although he is such a damaged human being. You don't know how this kind of interaction started. But he's definitely can't find himself a new place to go.
Yeah. Somebody, an average, your journeyman camera person, when he's pulling his broken tooth out, would kind of shy away from that and show it. But instead, Lynn puts it almost overbearingly up in.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to take this, whether you like it or not. And it's a very
We're going to show you that this is real.
Yeah, it's a very interesting choice because a lot of people would just show, like, the old John Wayne trick of just, and it's here. But, yeah, she keeps it right in there. There's no way you can steer away from it.
Yeah. And that, combined with something like, I think, some incredible music from Johnny Greenwood, who is a guy that just consistently shows off
Right.
how he can work in the synth world with what's going on here. The film feels like it's got an 80s style, but, a now filmmaking technique. It just has its own kind of a feeling that I haven't seen in a while. And even outside of Lynn Ramsey, she changes this film up. It's not entirely, we need to talk about Kevin too. Right. It's still got her marks, but she is kind of still playing with the form.
She films very bluntly. She doesn't put the camera away when you need to see the gruesomeness, but it's this very aesthetic pleasing bluntness to her movies. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. But you're definitely right. Lynn Ramsey has made Lynn Ramsey films, and I hope she keeps making Lynn Ramsey films.
Right, yeah. So, what do you think of our assessment of this movie? It's 5 years old now, so it has still retained the punch that it did 5 years ago.
I think it did. I mean, the first time I watched it was late last year. And I kind of avoided it because of my knowledge of we need to talk about Kevin. It's not really a movie that I was like, I don't know if I need to see more from this director at this moment in my life.
No, it's a feel-good movie of the year. It's hard, so.
More feel-good. All right, thanks for joining us again. Yeah, leave your thoughts down below. And is there another novella that you would like to see Lynn Ramsey take on next? We haven't seen much from her in recent years. So let us
she's
know.
probably storyboarding the hell of something right now.
She's probably on storyboard pass number 30.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys for joining us so much. You can find all of my film reviews over at GoFilmReviews.com.
You can find my show, The St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts, and I'm always there.